Welcome to the Draftstars AFL show with Smatho and Rudy.
Yes, with thanks to Draftstars and the Daily Fantasy Rankings. This is the Draftstars AFL show. Smatho and Rudy, it's the finals. Finally, Rudy. After 24 weeks of toiling away at Daily Fantasy Sport, we get to the point of the season. Rudy, good evening. Shout out to our live viewers on the live stream tonight. Hello to you guys watching us on the replay or on the podcast. G'day to you guys as well. Rudy, a week and a half removed from the live final. How'd you pull up after those festivities on that Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, I think the only thing I overdid it on was the donuts. When the last quarter was rocking, I snuck away. I was still a bit hungry. I thought, I reckon the food trucks are going to be packing up soon. So I went outside just before it got really heated in the last quarter, see what was available, and they were all packing up. But the taco truck had all these donuts, and they were full on. A few of the people I was with couldn't even get them down. They were very, very sweet. But no,
in saying those donuts, I had 6 of them because I actually went out the fourth quarter thinking, yep, cutting her up by a couple of goals here. I should be snoped to get something to eat, as you said.
No.
And yes, there were the donuts there, and there was like passion fruit and strawberry, raspberry, strawberry, and I had 6 of them. I was pretty hungry. So if you said you couldn't stomach them, well, geez, I must have been Herculean in my effort.
Yeah, I think it's a replay of the Nugget Challenge there, Smatho. You killed me on those ones. But no, mate, enough about donuts. The live final was great fun. It was heaps of fun. You did a stellar job up there, mate. Even though you called someone by the wrong name, I can't remember who it was, but a bit of a slip up. But you did a great job up there with Campbell Brown, and it was just good to get around people and have a chat. And everyone was real friendly, even people that I hadn't really spoken to much, didn't know that much about. Everyone was like, oh, yeah, g'day, who are you? And blah, blah, blah. But clearly the highlight for me, Smatho, I don't think I've told you about this one yet, but I got there a bit early just to, get a sense of the place before we did our live broadcast. And there was already a crowd of people standing outside. And, I just walked straight past them and I said, oh, mate, who are you? I said, guys, it's okay. I'm Rudy. Oh, Rudy, come on through, mate. Come on through. And that made me feel really important. So thank you for that, DFR. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Draftstars, for making me feel important.
Wow.
Oh, and I had a good day. In terms of the free roll. I think I came 9th in the mini or something, and 10th in the free roll. So I actually had one of my most profitable Roy days of the year. Yeah, so it was good. My mini team would have won the live final.
Yeah, there was a lot of people who guessed, and they were tapping on the shoulder afterwards saying, hey, look at this, look at my team. I won the free roll. I would have won this by 50 points. Who are these people? Are they amateurs? So I got a bit of a cackle out of them. So, but obviously I have to give a shout out to obviously the winner of the $150,000, which was Newbie. Newbie introduced himself actually quite early in the day, recognized me and said, oh, do you remember from the old competitive DraftKings days from when we were doing the World Cup together? And I was like, yeah, that was good fun. Yeah, I'm smart. Yeah. So we had a good chat. And then, and then obviously I'm looking his way second half because his teams were on top. And and I'll see he was quite stoked to get the win. He was quite sheepish about it as well, knowing that AFL is not exactly his strongest sport. He doesn't really look at it. But 150.
Maybe he will. Maybe
probably.
Maybe he's going to change now and become an AFL expert. But look, it was great seeing him win. Seeing I was kind of ahhing whether I'd rather a little Fish win or one of the Sharks, one of the DFS regulars. And so I actually think it's great that it goes to someone who's been toiling away for a while. I think that's really good reward for him. But there were a couple of highlights from the teams that I saw. Someone played both subs in their lineup, and look, one sub you might it's like win the toss and think about bowling and then bat. You think about it but then you don't do it. But 2 subs, that's special. And then someone had the massive balls to play a dupe team as well. the same team twice. That is some big ball action. So yeah, really, it was fun. It was a great day. Congrats to you, Smatho, and the team at Draftstars and DFR for putting it on. It was good fun was had by all, the reviews say.
Oh, no, thanks, Rudy. Thanks very much. I think I was pretty spent afterwards too. I barely got out for the festivities afterwards. So I'm looking forward to. Obviously, we'll do the social video pretty soon. We've got the videographer that day. He was taking some shots. So I'm looking forward to getting that. So we'll pop that out once we receive that. So we'll give you an overall look at what happened on that day. So, but yeah, thanks, Rudy, for that. Obviously, yeah, shout out to all the competitors and that, and hopefully we'll go again next year. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Not sure we're doing it yet, but we'll never know.
Big Bash,
but we are
Big Bash live final, mate. Big Bash live final. Come on.
You just never know. I might have something up my sleeve. I'll see what I can do. I'm just a little chicken feed bloke down the bottom here. Try to make my way.
Or even a win a trip to the Super Bowl. Come on, make it happen.
Rightio. Okay, no promises. All right, we're waffling on. Let's talk about finals footy. Obviously, we've only 9 games remaining in the season. That means we've got some pools coming up for AFL DFS. Obviously, Andrew says the Big Bash. Yes. We'll see what we can do. No, just we'll see what we do. All right. Talk about AFL. It's the Lions and the Tigers on Thursday night. This is tonight's episode. We'll be back, obviously, for Friday's episode as well. We'll do a recording, but 2 shows this week for us. So we're at the Gabba. It's a 7:20 p.m., which is the traditional Thursday start here in Brisbane. Let's look at the team news that dropped off earlier this evening. The talk has been Dustin Martin back all week, so he's back in the side. It was pretty obvious that he was going to be back in. Shane Edwards is the surprise omission, I guess. Some people are upset about that. Castagna was the medical sub, and he's not required in the 22 so far. Lions, they pulled out a little couple of sneaky ones tonight. Darcy Wilmot, debut for the Lions. He's a defender. Devon Robertson from the Clouds. He hasn't played since winter. Well, June, let's say that. Cam Rain is out suspended. Noah Answorth is out suspended. And Jared Lyons was the surprise injury. Wasn't really much news kicking around about that, but his groin is no good. So there, when you figure that, it's 3 significant outs and, a debut and a guy hasn't played in months already. So let's start with the Tigers. Tigers are a little bit easier to figure out because obviously Dustin's back. And you're going to tell me straight away, what is Dusty doing? They're going to just put him in the forward pocket, aren't they?
Yeah, Dusty's playing forward pocket. He's playing forward. Hardwick is on SEN as I was driving around today, and he said that. I think it's really clear. If it was a normal season game, he wouldn't be playing. But it's a do or die final for Richmond, so he plays. Of course, he plays. A 50% Dusty is still better than most people on an AFL list at the moment. So park him in the forward pocket, or even at full forward, and whatever they do. Maybe if he has to, he goes in for a couple of CBAs. But even Hardwick says he's underdone, and I think that the reason why Edwards was a shock admission. I think the shock retention is Kaiser Sose, Tyler Sonzi there, who has been doing pretty well. They've a vote of confidence in the youngster, but he's going to see some real midfield minutes. And then obviously Shea Bolton as well will play a bit more mid, you'd think, in this matchup too. So, so the Tigers, apart from that, they're one of the form teams of the competition. If this was at the MCG, Sportsbet would be paying out already because they would be so short against a depleted Lions outfit. The Gabatois, does maybe put the Lions up a little bit higher than they should be, but they were so bad against Melbourne. Like, Melbourne were good, I think, but equally worrying was the Lions' form. They just did not turn up at all. And if they do that again, this could be over just very, very quickly because Richmond's pressure, they've refound that premiership pressure, that's for sure. And they also have the informed forward of the competition at the moment in Big Tommy Lynch. And we'll pick apart his stats later on when we get to the forward. So over to the Lions. yeah, it was a bit of a big surprise. I actually was doing my team before the show, and I was like, "Where's Jared Lyons? I can't see him on the list. What's going on here?" I was like, I know I've had a big week, but not that big. And then I clicked on show was it show inactive players, and there he is. So I was really surprised. No news about an injury all week. In comes Devon Robinson, who, I would have loved to have seen Dev Rob a little bit early in the season. Not sure why he hasn't got a bigger run than he has. I think the barometer beast mode has taken his place in the last month or so. So obviously the Lions midfield now will be McCluggage, Neal, and Matheson. That'll be the starting three. Then you'd assume Dev Rob, Zorko, and maybe a little bit of Zach Bailey as well. So really, and also with Rayner going out, so you're losing Rayner and Lyons. I did a bit of stats on the DFR website. Smatho, Rayner was 15% CBAs and Lyons was 45% CBA. So a little bit to talk about when we get to the midfield as well. But yeah, mate, from the team sheets at least, and from the form guide as well, I think the Tigers will actually get this one done.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you. You're pretty strong on a Richmond win. Seems to be the form side, settled team. Dustin Munn back in is a bit of a bonus. Chuck him up forward. Brisbane, headaches down back. Lost one of their midfielders now. It's starting to point to a bit of a rough night for the Lions. But if they can pull it out, which they can on home, it'll be one of their better wins that they've ever had under that finals pressure. But but if you're sitting down on Thursday night watching this, you will be on the assumption that the Tigers should win this game. All right. So,
yes,
but will that translate?
I haven't even checked the odds.
Would translate to your fantasy teams though? What would that affect you?
Good segue, my friend. Let's bring up the old data and see what we have to pick apart here.
Yes, let me bring up the data.
Yeah, just while you're doing that, I had a quick look this afternoon, and there's not a lot to go on, guys. There is not a lot to go on here. Both teams are pretty miserly when it comes to conceding fantasy points, and there aren't very many edges to find here either. So Richmond are conceding in the top 6 or so, but Brisbane aren't accumulating that much this year. So it's not really like you can play that off very much. And Richmond never accumulate a lot of stats anyway. That's never been their style of play in the last 6-7 years. And then you go to look at the positions, and they're both pretty much in the halfway or bottom half of rucks and forwards and mids. And I think it was the mids. There's a little bit of a, I think they're both middle of the table. Yeah, middle of the table for mids. So you can maybe pay up for your mids there, but forwards are pretty gross regularly. But that said, they're two of the league's highest scoring teams in points for. So anyway, there's not that much to go on, Smatho. Anything that took your eye at all in the stats?
No, they're very similar. Maybe some edges to the Lions in terms of back scoring, considering that they don't give much up to backs at all, but very minuscule. Like you want to pump them up saying there's an edge, but there's not really. It's literally a head-to-head match, this one.
Yeah.
All right, let me bring up the slate then. We'll start at the Rucks. 3 options this evening. Obviously, Toby Nankervis is solo for this one, so Ivan Soldo is an emergency. Nankervis at 12.4. Looks like he's got nice form there, 96.7. Obviously, that 137 is kind of raising his form there, so he's available there at 12.4. The big guy is just below him at 12.030, 78 in his round 23 match there. And then Daniel McStay at 9,580. Now, he's been given ruck status because obviously he does provide a little chop out, but you're telling me before the show that he might have a bit of a role change in this game.
I mean, I don't know. Some people say you just can't look at team sheets. They bear no resemblance or very little resemblance to the team that actually takes the field at the first bounce. But if you do look at that stuff, he was named at fullback. So he was named at fullback. They will be, I mean, apart from Rewald and Tommy Lynch, they're not particularly tall down back, so they do have Harris Andrews still. So whether they need McStay back there, just let me check so who else have they got down back? McStay, Andrews, Darcy Gardner's probably tall enough for Rewald, and Andrews takes, what's his name? Lynch. So you probably don't need McStay back down there, but, he's been named. Anyway, be that what it is, he will need a goal or two to get. I mean, he's not going to get close to value. He's the closest a ceiling on this game for McStay, let's be honest, is probably a 70. If you got a 70 for McStay, you'd be ecstatic. It's kind of a tough one if you do want to save a bit of money. I mean, the other options, obviously, you've only got two, McInerney and Nankervis. You take McInerney for the floor. He's probably got a safer floor. But Nankervis obviously has a much, much bigger ceiling, as you've seen a couple of times this season as well. So, I think a fairly even split. I don't see one better than the other, and the prices aren't too dissimilar. So they'll be relatively similar, have similar ownership. If you're going to save a bit of money, what's that? 2 and a bit. 2 and a bit. You go McStay, but it's a pretty ugly option, McStay.
It'll be a tough watch. If you have McStay as your key ruck and he's not doing much, it's going to be a bit of a tough watch. Knowing that McInerney and Nankervis, they can probably just go toe to toe and go massive each other and cancel each other out.
And they've got big tanks, those two, as standalone. They do their best work when they're standalone ruckmen. I get the feeling that Nankervis does not like sharing the field with Soldo, and same goes for McInerney as well. So you'd have a 50-50 split of both of those. It's not rocket science, this one. Yeah.
Look, the field will go Nankervis knowing that he's the solo ruck. There'll be people with McStay trying to save money, so that leaves Oscar McInerney as your lower owned kind of ruck.
He'll still be 40.
Yes, it'll be high ownerships, but he'll probably be, Nankervis is probably the safer player, and it's hard to jump off him at this stage of the season. Defense. So as we mentioned, Brisbane might have a little bit of an edge in terms of fantasy scoring since they don't give up terribly too much points. But look at the form of these blokes, Rudy. Obviously, you're not looking at me at the moment. You're doing something more interesting.
No. My wife's just walked into the room I'm in wearing a towel, so I was just going to maybe put her on the camera for everyone.
Very good. I'm talking about the form of these premium backs.
Oh, that's really the form
fantastic.
Sorry, Smatho, I was confused. Sorry.
Boston's here at 13,260 with only a 70 form. 12,350 for Daniel Rich with a 77 form. Keedy Coleman at only 11,880 with a 62 form. They're concerning kind of numbers if you're going to be paying up for that. You're backing these guys into score where they should be at those 90s? Or is this a game that's just in a final type kind of game? Not much cheap ball will be available down back.
Yeah, the second point, definitely. I don't think there'll be a lot of cheap ball. However, these games sometimes, the time where you see a Liam Baker 90 or a Daniel Rioli 90. Rioli's been very, very good this year. But, yeah, you might see some blue moon scores in a game like this. I actually don't mind Vlosten. I was playing around with, although I said McStay was an ugly choice, I did a McStay team that had Vlosten in it. And the narrative I'm trying to chase there is that, Brisbane have an absolute mare and they just hack it forward and don't really have much system, and Vlosten gets on the end of those kicks. I don't mind Vlosten as a really, really attractive tournament play, of course. Definitely wouldn't go anywhere near him in a cash lineup. Rich, not interested. Keedy Coleman, not interested either. But yeah, definitely do have some interest in Rioli and Liam Baker, who can give you a really honest 80 or 90 at their respective price ranges. And then we have, Nathan Broad. Just you can go for a contract narrative here because he just signed a new contract for another year. Well done, Nathan Broad. Your best achievement apart from that photo. Got to mention that photo every single time. Talk about Nathan Broad. A little bit of interest in Starcevic, only that the ball I think will be down there quite a lot. But apart from that, Jack Payne is someone who I've mentioned, in these solo single slates. And you know what? Like, again, look at those marks, like 9 marks. When he marks the ball, obviously, Melbourne was a great matchup. So I don't know if you can expect another 70. But at 8.5 is not the worst play. But let's go down the very, very bottom, because we do have a few people to talk about here. The debutant, Darcy Wilmot. Big raps on this kid, taken in the first round, a late first round picks, I think 17 by the Lions. He's a rebounding defender, plays a bit taller than he is as well. Like, he's not short by any stretch, but, he can play a bit taller than he is. But I really think that they'll need a bit of drive. Can we trust a debutant in a game where we think they're going to lose? Geez, I don't know. But as we know, Smatho, people are drawn to the 6K players. They are drawn to them like the proverbial moths to light. And so I do think that people will take a chance on him. Ben Miller, I posted a team in a group chat just before and copped a bit of flack for being a bit forward heavy with Miller, because he actually does play a bit more forward than back. But the reason I took him, if you look at his box scores, is that backup ruck role. So 10, 13, 6 hit-outs, a little bit around the ground, not much. So you play him at 6 and you get a 50, 60. Hey, I'm really happy with that, especially when there aren't too many other defenders that are really jumping out at me, So I don't mind, you play a Miller-Wilmot backline. First you throw up, and then you say, hang on a minute, I can actually get a pretty attractive midfield with that backline, and some decent forward options too. So food for thought. I'd either go right up the top, the Vlosten Rioli pairing or something like that, or right down the bottom to those two.
Okay. For those who are looking for a bit more information on Wilmot, obviously Brisbane are in the VFL. He averaged fantasy points around that 65 mark throughout the season. Very, very kind of floor player. There's not really too many big scores that popped over 80, 85 kind of thing. So he's around that 50, 60, 65, 70 mark. So if he gets that kind of production, that 6K, then yeah, you'll take that anytime. All right, let's talk about these midfielders. So let's talk about no lines. Obviously, you've touched on it already. Some CBAs to pick up. So they've brought back Dev Robinson. Mitch Robinson without his rat tails having a go as well. So let's talk about the Lions first of all. So McCluggage, Neal is obviously your main two premium guys. 16,000 for McCluggage, 15,600 for Lockie Neal. Then it drops away all the way down to Dane Zorko, who's going to be very popular at 11.9. So I want to know about your Zorko thoughts first of all. In terms of, okay, what's he going to do, and is he going to be appearing in your lineups, considering he's going to be pretty chalky?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Zorko, I think we're pretty keen to put the events of the past fortnight behind him. I found it really hard to even keep up with the Sledge saga, Sledgegate, or whatever it was, look, he's a mug. I really don't like him as a person. Even the way he put Langdon in tackle when Langdon chased him down and he had him in a headlock for like a minute. Anyway, Zorko, I expect, will take some CBA time. And at 12, 11, 9, let's call it 12, with dual status, I think he'll be a very popular play, either forward or mid. But if we go back up to what we were saying before in the intro, Smatho, so you look at the Lions midfield, okay? So it'll be McCluggage, Neal, and Matheson as the starting three. And then it depends. This is where you can really get an edge, is trying to work out who the next group of players will be, So the choices are, we've got Berry. He'll stay on a wing. I don't expect to see him in the midfield. That said, I'd love to see him in the midfield. He's a big body. Like, he's really quite tall. And I'd actually, really like to see Berry be given a better chance in the mid, but I don't think that's going to happen tonight. And so the likely candidates then, Zach Bailey, of course, if he plays more forward, more mid than that forward role, and then Zorko that we spoke about too. I think Zorko will be the first one in, and then Dev Rob. And I think really a stance on Dev Rob, especially if you're a big multi-entry player, will be really important here. So if you say, nah, Dev Rob, I think he's fake chalk, and you go under, let's just say that's what I would do. If I was a 50 entry player, 100 entry player, I would be definitely going lower than the field on Devon Robertson. Anyway, we skipped over a few people, so let's go back up to the mid prices. So there's a few more comments that I want to make. Okay, Dusty Martin. Sorry, let's go. Prestia, yep, he's probably my first picked. Prestia is probably my first picked. Super form, super consistent. Don't need a 140 on this slate. I'm happy with 100, 110 from Prestia. And then the other two, Neil and McCluggage, they're just going to have to stay. McCluggage will have to stay more midfield this game. And we know that when he does that, he's really dangerous as well. And Lachie Neale, of course, goes without saying. He was really he wasn't great against the Demons at all, but he still managed to get that 109, 110 score. So not too bad from Lachie Neale. Presio, one of my first picked. No interest in Short. A little bit of interest in Cochin, just because he's performing quite well and yet still not picking up much ownership. So I do have a bit of interest in a sneaky Cochin play. But yeah, be careful, because a lot of the other options you really want to get some of these Brisbane midfielders in, because you mentioned that slight edge to the Richmond midfielders, right? And so who else do I like? I like Shea Bolton. Definitely think there's a bigger midfield role for him. Wildly inconsistent with his fantasy scores, but this guy is absolutely awesome in terms of the skills and what he provides. And then our mid prices even lower. A little bit of interest in Pickett, but the guy that I'm really interested in is, where is he? Jack Ross. So if you click on Jack Ross's box scores, you've got, apart from the 35, I'm not sure I can't remember if he was a sub that day or not. But 67, 77, 74 at 8-9. I reckon that's a really good value play in your midfield, and of course Matheson as well. So Ross, Matheson. Then you can pay for two of the more expensive players as well. Jackson Pryor wasn't bad either. Last few outings. Tyler Sonsi will be in the midfield, but I don't know if we can. I think there are probably better options around with a higher ceiling, but he's been doing pretty well too. So yeah, there are. Don't be scared to get a bit different tonight. I don't think it's going to be a very high winning score. Smatho, what do you reckon?
Yeah, that's correct. Also, these teams face back in round 20 odd, and only around 4 players got to that 100 and barely got there. So there's a lot of 70s, 80s littered throughout the slate. So we're not expecting 140 like a Bulldogs kind of slate where there's like a 130, 125, 120 kind of thing. That's not happening at all. So it's just, I think it's how you massage your midfield in terms of, okay, I can go uber premium and the cheap guys down the bottom, or do I go above mid-tier and get these above the cheap guys as well? That could work. I mean, that always works in a daily fantasy slate, but there's no look at me, you have to play this kind of way for this particular slate, since the scores are so condensed with each other. If there are larger discrepancies, then you have to go down that path. But here you can 5-10 points is going to make a difference here in this particular game.
Yeah, and that's why getting these guys right, like getting from Matheson down right, is going to be really, really important, because, it is relatively easy to build a team that's quite attractive. And then you just got to pick the right guys below 10K in the midfield, and then you're nearly there.
Yeah. Let's move on the forward line. Obviously, Tommy Lynch, 12,930. Hasn't he become forward god for the Tigers? Look at that. 127, 134, a pair of 90s, which is fantastic for Lynch. That is just absolutely gangbusters here. 12,930 is probably one of the higher key forward prices that we've had on Draftstars this year. You saving cash for him?
I'm going to try. Only because my narrative is that they win quite easily, the Lions. And so, yeah, I'm going to try and squeeze him in. Don't know if I can, but yeah, I know I can. But it's about what kind of sacrifices you're making along the way as well. Because obviously you can't get him in if you're playing a high-scoring backline or whatever. So you will definitely need to make a few sacrifices to jam him in. But yeah, I think it's the most expensive I can remember seeing Tom Lynch. I think Jeremy Cameron has definitely been more expensive this year, but it's definitely up there with one of the highest key forward prices for this season. Then of the people that we haven't already spoken about, we do need to go quite far down the list to see people with only forward status. Charlie Cameron, not really an interest for me. If you think that if you're going for a Brisbane upset win, then yeah, maybe, definitely. But yeah, not of real interest for me. Jack Riewoldt, yeah, not really. I rarely play him in DFS at all. I suppose you could have a Tom Lynch doesn't score well, Riewoldt does team, but yeah, not for me. No interest in Lincoln McCarthy as well. He's kind of dropped off, and really, I think you can kind of make up a similar scoreline from him somewhere else as well. The guys that I am interested in down this low, Noah Cumberland. Interestingly, I heard on the radio today that he actually played in a Lions NEFL premiership team last year. So that's a funny little narrative story that you've got there. By the way, I just said narrative, because narrative and story are the same thing. And then Maurice Rioli as well. Maybe a few tackles and a 6-tackle, 2-goal game, and he gets close to value as well. So there are a few little options, and also obviously Dev Rob. But no interest in Danaher this time for me. I think there are better options. Thanks, MC. Yeah, I wish I could say the same. So that's what I'm thinking with my forwards. That was a bit harsh,
All right.
but also
that
true.
Was a bit harsh. That was a bit of a cackle that got out of me. All right, so now at the time of the show, obviously your lineup. Now, obviously, as you tinker away with your lineups, I've prepared my cash lineup, my cashy. Got there earlier tonight and did my double up team, my cashy team. So let me bring it up for you. This is tonight's double up cashy team. I start here with Toby Nankervis, 12-4, simple cash play there. For my defenders, I am going to go a little bit cheaper in Coleman. Hopefully he gets a bit more run than he's been getting lately. If not, Daniel Rowley seems to be more logical. But for now, I've got Coleman. I'm teaming him up with Nick Vlosten at 13,260 as my backline. So I've gone pretty expensive to start with here. For my mids, at the moment, I do have Jaden Short, but I'm actually going to come down to Trent Cotchin. I think he's more of a safer cash play at the moment, the way he's been going in and under in the packs at the moment. I've also got Dane Zorko. I think you just have to play him in cash. And then obviously the cheaper guys in Reece Matheson, who's getting all those CBAs, and Mitchie Robinson. As for my forwards, I am paying up for Shai Bolton. I think he has a really big game in here in this one at 11,000. That leaves me just enough money here for Dev Robinson. Plenty of money, actually. 870 left, obviously, coming in the side. VFL stats here, he's had 100s in his last 6 games here. So he's had 300s in his last 6 VFL games. So obviously he's in form. He's not likely just walking in the absolutely being picked because there's no one left. He actually has some decent form. So there is my cash team for Thursday night's game there, Rudy. What about you? What is your out there tournament? Let's go for the Stars team.
Give me a sec.
Okay, you said.
I've been making some. It's so funny. It's so funny. No, I'll tell you the story. So from the moment I looked at this team, I thought that's a team. That's a team there. I'm just going to enter this team 20 times and just sit back and Scrooge McDuck dive into my barrel of money. So I'll give you the team that I put out there, and then I was like, nah, not touching this. And then I'll give you a slight variation of that team.
All right, give me the variations at the end. Yeah, let's just go with your Let's go with your little.
This is my Scrooge McDuck. Give me all the biscuits team.
Train.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Dan McStay, the person I said was the worst ruck play on the slate, put him in. Then we've got Ben Miller, who I copped a fair bit of grief for playing. Chuck him in as well. Nick Vlastoim, put him in.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Then let's go to forward line and leave my mids for a bit of a surprise. We'll go Tom Lynch, please. Give me Tommy J.
All right, yeah, yes.
Give me Noah Cumberland.
Right. Why?
All right. And now give me Dion Prestia.
All right,
Lachlan Neal Lowe. Give me some Neal Lowe love.
Yes.
And then give me a Jack Ross.
All right, that should leave you just over 11.6 for
beast mode. Give me, please, Reece Matheson.
Right.
So I have left $1,000 in the bank here. All right. But I don't mind that team at all. I think that Neil if there's one player on this slate, two players that have the biggest ceiling potential are Tom Lynch and Lachie Neale. I think that McCluggage, from McCluggage to be in that conversation as well, his bigger games, really, he goes forward as well and kicks like 2-3 goals. And I can't really see that happening much tonight. So I think the real ceiling plays are Lynch and Lachie Neale. Of course, the changes you can make to this team, if you take out Vlauston and you go double down to Wilmot, and then you can change McStay to McInerney, and then you got a heap of cash left over there, and you can change Jack Ross to Dane Zorko, or so you can make a few changes around there. But you know what, mate? I really would not be surprised to see like a bloody Sonsi, what's the dude? Pickett, Jack Ross, and then one stud midfielder, win this slate. So, anyway, so that's what I'm thinking. But I think that nailing those, I know it goes without saying, no tag. Lions don't tag. No. And I don't think he's, to be honest, I really love watching him play. I think he's an amazing talent, one of the, probably pound for pound, one of the most talented players there is, but I don't think there's a need to tag him. And Lions just can't really afford a tag as well. They're so depleted in their midfield that if they take someone out, like if they do a Dev Rob tag, he does have a great tank, Devon Robinson. But I just can't see that happening at all. And Lions, did they do something with Oliver? I think they might have. I think they might have just gone head to head with Lachie Neale, and when Oliver was tearing them apart. Not last game, but the game before. But no tag. Neither sides, neither Richmond or Brisbane usually tag at all.
No, I don't think they usually tag. I mean, obviously the teams do put some work into Neil, but Richmond won't. No, they'll back themselves here. Yep. Now, obviously, a shout out to my company here at DraftStars. We've got the AFLW available now on DraftStars, which has been awesome to get up. A lot of hard work gone into it. Obviously, for round 2, we've actually made Rudy 120 plus positional changes from the 500 lot of players over the weekend. So we've watched a little bit of film. We've gone to we've gone to the stats. We've gone to the stuff from Champion Data. Just say, give us a bony, help us out. So obviously they're now available for round 2. obviously the schedule this week is a little bit hard to put out some rather bigger pools than that we wanted to this week. Obviously, with less games coming up with AFL Men's, therefore AFLW will get more of a highlight. So obviously those pools should increase obviously over the week. So games on Friday. There's a huge Sunday, 5 games on a Sunday on Father's Day. So if you're keen to chuck in some teams, 11 a.m. I do believe on the Sunday, you can get into AFLW. Also, big news: NFL is back, obviously next week as well. So week 1 of the NFL starts on Friday morning. I think the Bucks are playing, I do believe, and then also these huge overnight slates on Monday morning will be available on DraftStars. So we'll be doing some salaries over the next couple of days, and hopefully we'll have some slates up this weekend, so you can start prepping Rudy for your little 5-team trains in the NFL. Because you're not. Look, let's be honest. Look, we'll give you one thing. You're not bad at NFL. I know you think you're good, but yeah, you're not bad.
No, I don't think I'm good at anything. Let's be honest. I'm the first person to say that, but I do like NFL. It's a really fun. I actually just like watching games. Firstly, I think the NFL really divides people. Some people think, "Oh my god, it's so boring. Nothing happens." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like every play, something's happening. Every play, there's something to analyze." And I think it's one of the most enjoyable games to watch in terms of the way it's commentated. Like if you get good commentators in NFL, my God, they pick out pass plays and screens and this and that, whatever, so quickly. So yeah, it's a fun game to play. But my hand on the forehead was about my body clock being totally reset to wake up at 5 o'clock when the game started. And if you got that ESPN subscription to Red Zone, it is the single best sporting program in the world, Red Zone. If you have never watched Red Zone, then you haven't lived. It's the best. Love it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And if you set your alarm for 5 o'clock, you've missed half the games. They actually start at 3. So
daylight saving. Oh man.
Yeah. No good.
It's even worse.
Right. We're waffling on here, Rudy. Thank you for all the guys who are on the live stream tonight and providing your comments and questions. We appreciate those. Rudy and I will be back, obviously, to do a recording for Friday night footy, which is going to be a huge game, that particular game. But we'll do a recording only, so we'll pop that on, obviously, on DFR's and DraftStars social platforms on Friday. So, Rudy, thank you so much for your time tonight. Good luck to all our DraftStars participants in the $75,000 pool for tomorrow, and we'll catch you next time on the DraftStars AFL show. Thanks, Rudy.
Thanks, mate. See ya.
See you later.